Hey everybody, welcome back to homerecordingmadeeasy.com and here on my YouTube channel. And in this video, this is part 2 of our Softube Console 1 Mark III series. This video, we're going to walk through the controls, going to show you the lay of the land here, how all the buttons work, how to load up your plugins, so on and so forth. So if you just got this home for the first time and you want to know how to kind of use it, how to feel your way around, that's what we're going to do in this video. If you missed part 1, go check out part 1. It'll be in the description box. A link will be in the description box below for the playlist for all the videos for this Softube Console 1 series, which will probably be 4 or 5 videos by the time we're all said and done. So before we get started, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Also, if this is your first time here, go to homerecordingmadeeasy.com because I want to give you a free mixing course. It's right on the homepage. It's a big orange button. Download it today, no strings attached. It's my gift to you for visiting Home Recording Made Easy. And if you stick around till the end of the video, I'll give you something else for free. So before we walk through this and get started, I wanted to let everyone know, full disclosure, Softube, my good friends at Softube, sent this to me so I could bring these series of videos to you, but I'm not being paid for the video. They don't tell me what to say, blah, blah, blah. If you've been watching my stuff for any length of time, you know how I do these videos. I get them out of the box, I plug them in, I turn them on, and then I teach you how to use them quickly so you can get up and running with no fuss and no muss. So that's what we're going to do. And the last video of this series will be my likes and dislikes portion of the series, where I tell you about what I like about this product, what I don't like about this product, and whether I recommend, especially if you have the first Console 1, should you upgrade to this one. We're going to talk about that in another video. I think that's it. So thank you, Softube, for sending this to me. Okay, here we go. You got this out on your desk, you bought it. You used the link in the description box below to go out to Sweetwater and buy one of these for yourself. That is my affiliate link. Thank you so much in advance for doing that. You got it home. Let's walk through it. Let's get the lay of the land. It's pretty straightforward. It is beautifully designed compared to the first version, the Mark II version that we did a series on about a year or two ago. It is much more sleek in design. Takes up a little bit of a larger footprint, but not much at all. It is way better built. Overall quality is head and shoulders above the first version of this. Let's start here. Oh, before we walk through the controls, let me tell you how to use this thing. Well, the first thing you got to do is you're going to go out to Softube's website, you're going to register the product, and you're going to download their little software application, their little plugin application called Softube Central. It'll reside on your dock here, or if your Windows on your desktop, you're going to open that up. Let me just show you this quickly. And you're going to download 2 plugins here. For sure. Now, if you're a brand new Softube customer, you may not have anything in the list. If you have some of their other plugins, you'll see it as part of their plugin manager. But the 2 plugins that you want to make sure you download are the Console 1 Core Mixing Suite and the Console 1 System. You want to install those. Okay, so make sure you do that before you launch your DAW. You get yourself all set up and plugged in. Once you've done that, you can close this. And what you're going to want to do is in your session, you're going to want to put the Softube, the Console 1 app across all the tracks, okay? You don't need to open it. You just want to put it as the first instance of all the tracks, all the audio tracks in your setup here, which is what I've done here. Now, little pro tip, you want to make sure you're using the VST3 version of the plugin. When you install it from the little installer, you're going to get the audio units version for Logic. You're going to get the VST2 version and the VST3 version. In order to use the panning, the solos, and the mutes on a track-by-track basis, some of the DAW controls that are built into the Console 1 here, you need to use the VST3 version. Okay, if you don't do that and you put the VST2 version, things like the solo, the mute buttons, the volume, the fader control won't work as well. So make sure you use VST3. Once you've done that and you've put it across all your tracks, as you see I've done here in Studio One, Console 1's going to recognize it instantly. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this button up here at the top left-hand corner. It says Display. We're going to hit the on button. That's going to bring up our plugin for the track that we have selected, which in this case we have the first track in Studio One, our kick track. And if I get rid of Console 1 here for a second, you'll see here in Studio One, we have our kick track selected. Here is the kick in plugin by turning this on and off on the hardware. Okay. Let me bring back Console 1 so you can see it. So that opens and closes it. Okay. Next to that, we have a mode button. The mode button is going to change the view of the plugin that I just opened up on the screen for you here. And again, I think there's 5 modes. Here's mode 1, mode 2, mode 3, mode 4, mode 5, which I think shrank down here. Let me drag this up, sorry. Mode 5 here. Okay, so depending on the resolution of your screen, depending on the workflow, how you want to see things, you just hit the mode button. Also keep in mind that this plugin here on the screen is also resizable. Bottom right hand corner, you can resize this plugin if you like, depending on the resolution of your screen. I just got it stretched out so we can see it as best as possible for this video demonstration. That is the mode button. Okay, so you turn it on and off here. Mode button will change the way you view it. Another across the top here, we have our page over buttons left and right. If you have more than 20 tracks in your session, this has 20 track selects, which we'll talk about in a second. This will page over in groups of 20, okay, which is really cool. I believe the old console one only had 10, not 20, or maybe it had 20, I don't remember. But what's great, most DAW controllers only have usually in banks of 8. This has a bank of 20, which is really cool. Now, we only have 15 tracks in our session here, so it's not going to matter, but just be aware of that's what it is. We also, right next to that, have a favorites button here where you can assign favorite presets, which we'll talk about in another video. Along the top here, we have our track selects, and let me get rid of console 1 here for a second. So you can see that as I select the tracks, not only does the plugin window never have to be opened and closed, the plugin will switch along with the track, but it also follows in the DAW. This is what most controllers don't get right. Console 1 has always gotten this right, even from the first version of this. So this is really nice to see. What you do on the hardware reflects on the screen. That's a pet peeve of mine. That's a must-have. Great job, Softube, on that, okay? So let me bring Softube or console 1 back up. So those are the track selects. Above that, we have a 3 LED meter, which you may not be able to see all that well. Let me just try to play something back. You may not see it well because of the lighting. Let's just play this quick. So you'll see our little LED lights, which is cool. The other thing you may or may not notice, depending on how this comes out on video, because the lighting is kind of bright here, each one of these track selects has an LED that reflects the color coding of your tracks in your DAW, which I think is a nice little touch. That's across the top here. We also have a way we can group tracks together, DAW function. We can copy stuff, DAW function. We have a preset button here. If we hit presets, you're going to see a little preset window come up here on the Console 1 plugin. We can open and close that here. We have our settings here. That our settings button will allow you to see, we'll change some of the internal settings of how you want to look at the GUI. And again, you can experiment on that on your own. And then we can bypass it just by hitting that here. And you'll see the bypass is flashing on the 2 LCD screens. That's the top. If we start here on the left-hand side, we have our sections, buttons here. We have a load strip section. So if I hit the load, if I just click this button once to load, you'll see that we can select our different consoles that we have installed on our system that'll be controlled by the Console 1. And we just use this red knob in the bottom right-hand corner to cycle through those. We pick the one we want and we hit the OK button, which is right above this red knob here on the right-hand side. Now this will be totally dependent on which Softube channel strips you have installed on your system. When you purchase Console 1, it comes with the core mixing channel strip as part of the core mixing suite. These other ones here, like the American Class A, the British Class A, those are ones that I purchased as part of Softube's package. You could buy those plugins separately on Softube's website, and then you can control them. They don't come for free with Console 1. However, depending on when you're watching this video, check the Softube website. They're always running different deals and specials. And at one point, maybe they will include some of these things. I don't know, but just be aware of that. If your list looks a little different than mine, that's why. That's if you just hit the button once, okay? Let me just get rid of this. If you hold the load selection, hold it, now you're gonna see where we use this red knob here in the bottom right-hand corner to cycle through We can either choose channel strips, we can choose the different tapes or preamps, different filters, different shape sections, different EQs, different compressors. So for example, if I come down to the first EQ here and hit OK, now depending on all the EQs that I have installed on my system, both Softube and UAD, Universal Audio, one of the advantages to this particular product, and this was the same for the last version of the Console 1, is it controls your UAD plugins, your Universal Audio plugins that you have installed on your system. Once again, they don't come with the Console 1. You have to purchase those from Universal Audio separately, but I can choose, I have all the different UAD EQs, so I can choose the different EQs, okay? So again, that's just by holding down this load button. If I want to change the EQs, if I want to change the compressors of the drive section. Again, we will demo all of these in a future video, but just be aware of that's what that button does. So one click brings up your channel, your console, your channel strip. Hold it, brings up all the different sections, okay? EQ, shape, compressor, drive, so on and so forth. Make sense, capiche? Okay, that's those two buttons. We have a phase invert button right here. And you can see as I'm changing things, you'll see it on the plugin GUI as well. You'll see things light up, turn on and turn off. We have our red input potentiometer here, which will change the input gain here, bottom left-hand corner of the plugin. And if I'm looking off screen here, I'm looking at a secondary screen of what you're actually seeing in the video to make sure everything is set up on the screen right. So if I'm not looking directly at you, I apologize. But that is the input here, okay? Right below that, we have our shift button. We hold our shift button to do multiple, some of these buttons have multiple functions depending on if you're holding shift or not, and it's all screen printed on the unit. We'll talk about that later. We could turn our preamp on and off here in our tape section right here by pressing that button. We have our external sidechain buttons up here. Okay, and you'll see on the compressor section of the plugin up here, you'll see that's turning the sidechain on and off. We can turn our filters on and off here, which is on the left side of the plugin. We have a high cut and a low cut filter, which is the two potentiometers right beneath it. So if I turn it on, you can see I'm turning my high cut and my low cut filters on, and that's displaying in the EQ window as well. So not only on the left side of the plugin, where you can see the value of what frequency I'm at, and you can also see that, by the way, in the LCD windows, which we'll talk about in a second, but you can also see it visually on the EQ part of the plugin itself. Turn the section on and off just by doing that. Okay? Next to that, we have our LCD screen, the first one here. We got two of them here. And next to them, we have our two up and down buttons. This is just going to change what you can view in each one of the LCD screens. So if you cycle through this, right now I have my VU meter, but I can look at the track select. I can look at the shape section. I can look at the EQ section, or I can look at the compressor section. So again, it's just a matter of workflow, how you want to see things. I kind of like the meter myself, but that's just me, which is cool. And by the way, I'm not sure how it comes out on camera. I know it's not perfectly focused because I got a camera over the top here, but I can tell you the screens are very sharp, very high resolution. They look really good. They're easy to read. No problems at all, even if it doesn't come off like that on camera. Underneath that LCD screen, we have our shape section here. We turn the shape on and off here with this. And as you'll see on the plugin, it lights up and it turns on and turns off. And then we have our four knobs here, which control the four parameters, right? We have our sustain, our gate release, and our punch. We have our sustain and our punch here for our, for the shape or harmonic section, they call it shape. And then we have our gating section here if we want to use the gate. Underneath that, on the controller itself, you'll see there's two buttons here. There's an A and a B button here. That corresponds to the plugin here. The first one right now, where you see my cursor, it says American Class A shape. That's from the API shape section of the Softube plugin. If I hit the button right next to it, you'll see it switches over to the core panner. Remember I said the core is what comes stock with this plugin when you buy your Softube Console 1. But because I have other plugins from Softube that I purchased that are installed, I can cycle back and forth between these two. It's a good way to do a nice A-B comparison, which is kind of cool. right? So you can switch those back and forth here. You can see it switching as I'm switching on here, okay? That's this section. We move to the center section, we have our equalizer. And just like the shape section, we can turn it on and off just by hitting this button. And we have two different EQ types here. We have, right now in orange here, we have the American Class A coming from the API channel strip that I have installed. Or we can use the Core Modern, which is what comes stock. Let's stay on the Core Modern. We have a 4-band parametric EQ. We have high and low cut filters, and as you can see, all these knobs, by the way, are touch sensitive. As I touch them, you'll see they'll light up, and that reflects on the plugin as well. We have a type button here, which changes the low frequency from a bell to a cut to a shelf. And then I can turn this. Let me just do this up or down so you can see it. We can change the type of low frequency that we have. In the middle, we just have our standard EQ controls that you would expect to see on any plugin. And then on our high shelf, again, we can change the type. We can make it from a shelf to a bell to a cut. Okay, and then we can turn it on and off right there, just by turning it on and off or going back and forth and A/Bing. Okay, so what's cool about this is you can, if you have more than just the core, you have some of the Softube or some UAD EQs installed on your system, you can set up two different EQs on a track, and then you can switch back and forth and A/B them, and the settings will retain the settings that you set up for each one of those, if that makes sense. Nice way to do a little A/B comparison. So that's our EQ section, okay? We move over here, we have our compressor section. Again, we have our LCD that we can display what we want to see in that window. And every time you touch one of these knobs, by the way, you'll see the value pop up in the screen. So you can read the value here as opposed to looking at the plugin. But here's our compressor section. Again, we're going to turn that on and off just by hitting this button here. And then we have our attack, our release, our ratio, all right, and our threshold. Okay, and just like with the EQ, and just like with the shape section, we have our American Class A, because that's what I have installed, or we can go over to the core bus compressor in blue. Okay, so each one of these three sections, the shape section, the EQ section, and the compressor section, can have either you have an A/B button to go between the core and whatever else you might have installed, and it all works exactly the same way. Next to that on the right-hand side, we have our drive section. Again, we turn that on and off by hitting this button here. And again, you'll see we have our drive control, again, how it's changing on the plugin right side. See the right side of the plugin? And then we have our character here as well. Underneath that, we have a pan knob, and the pan knob is going to correspond to the pan of the track that we have selected in the DAW. Let me show you that if I get rid of console 1 here for a quick moment. Look at the kick track, we're on track 1. If I turn the pan knob, you'll see it's panning that kick track. And again, that's because we're using the VST3 instance of the plugin. It allows us these extra DAW functionalities that you wouldn't get if you didn't use the VST3 version, which is really cool. The other thing we have here, if we hit right next to this pan, we have our solo and our mute. So once again, you can solo. Again, let me get rid of console 1. This is why I'm looking off screen. I want to make sure everything is on the screen where you can see it. You can see we're soloing up our kick track. Okay, or we're muting our kick track. That's right above this red, right above the red button here in the bottom right-hand corner of the console 1. So it's mute and solo for the track that's selected in your DAW, okay? Now above that, there's a volume button. If I press the volume button, that is going to allow us to adjust the fader of the track that is selected. So I'm turning that knob right now, and look, here's the kick 1, or track 1, the kick track. I'm adjusting the fader volume by using this red knob on the console 1, and that's because I have the volume button selected and turned on. If you turn that off, then you don't have to worry about that anymore. There we go. Then we have our main volume in and out that we can select that'll do the main volume in and out with this red potentiometer. And then lastly, above that, we have these 3 send buttons over here on the right-hand side. Let me close the plugin on the window here first on the Console 1 here so you can see this. If you see on track 3 in Studio One, I have a couple of sends set up here where my cursor is. If I hit send 1, now I can use this red knob and I'm controlling the send 1, which is going to a chamber plugin. See that? In Studio One, the send level. If I go to send 2, I'm now controlling the send level to a plate plugin here in our DAW, which is really handy. Again, why is that? Why are you able to do that? Because you're using the VST3 version of the plugin. So we have 3 send level buttons that we can use as well, which is really, really handy. And that is the whole layout. I know it seems like a lot, but it's actually quite intuitive and quite simple. Again, it makes perfect sense on the way it works. And in the next video, you're going to see we're actually going to listen to this. We're going to listen to the plugin. I'm going to show you how easy the workflow is. But basically, all you have to do is open up select your first track in your session, open up your plugin, leave that plugin window open, and as you're working on each track, just use the track select across the top. And that is going to switch all the plugins in your session so you never have to open and close a plugin window at all. If for some reason you need to close a plugin window to do something else in your DAW, you just hit the top left-hand button and that will close it and then reopen it again. Yeah, that's it. That is our basic walkthrough on how to use this thing. Plugging in with a USB-C cable. Remember to plug it directly into your computer, not a powered hub. Sometimes that will or will not work, depending on your computer configuration. It did not work for me on my Mac Studio. I had to plug it directly into my computer, but your experience might be a little bit different, but I just want to let you know that. So that's it. So I want to thank you so much for joining me for walking through the controls here in the layout of the Softube Console 1. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, I want to give you something else for sticking around till the end of this video. First, make sure you go to homerecordingmadeeasy.com and get that free mixing course. Again, we're talking about mixing. We got a Softube Console 1 here, a mixing controller, channel strip controller. This thing is fantastic. I want to give you a free mixing course. Download that mixing course. If you like my style of teaching and you want to take one of my other full feature training courses, I want to give you a 25% discount on any training course on the website. The coupon code you can use at checkout is YouTube25. That'll take 25% off any training course that I have on my website. So go check that out today at homerecordingmadeeasy.com. Also, make sure you check the playlist link in the description box below so you can see all the different videos that I'm doing here for the new Mark III Softube Console 1. And if you want to see the old videos from the last version, Mark II, there'll be a playlist link in the description box there as well. And that's it for now. So is this thing a worthwhile upgrade if you have the first one? What are my initial thoughts? Because if you want to purchase this, click the link in the description box below. Go out to Sweetwater and pick this up for yourself today. And again, that's my affiliate link. Thank you so much in advance. I will tell you this is, from what I can tell so far, a pretty substantial upgrade to the first version of Console 1. So if you have the first one, the old unit, and you like it, you got it in your workflow, and you really like the workflow, but you're looking for a more high quality, better feeling, better responding, higher quality unit, this is definitely worth the price of admission. Just from a build quality, a feel, overall experience, the 2 LCD screens, it's great. As far as the sound of the plugins, are they going to be any different than the other ones? Well, we're going to learn that in the next few videos. My suspicion is the sound is going to be the same, which is fantastic, but the tactile feel and the quickness of how you can work on this unit is probably a little bit better, I would say, than the first unit. So that's, if you want to know before you watch the whole series of videos, that's what I would say to you with all honesty. So if you want to go grab one of these for yourself, click the link in the description box below. And until the next video, when we come back for part 3 and we start listening to some tracks and start dialing in some sounds, I've been Dave with homerecordingmadeeasy.com. Thank you so much for watching me today, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video.